Empathy is the invisible thread that connects people beyond the surface level of words. When we truly listen to someone's feelings, we enter their world for a brief moment, experiencing their joys and pains alongside them. Often, conflicts arise not from differences, but from a lack of understanding of each other's inner experiences. By practicing empathy, we can close these emotional gaps, making relationships richer and more resilient. It allows us to meet others where they are instead of where we expect them to be. Listening with empathy requires patience and attentiveness, which many overlook in the rush of daily life. We often hear words but miss the emotions behind them, responding with solutions instead of understanding. Empathy slows us down, giving space for feelings to surface naturally without interruption or judgment. When someone senses that we are genuinely listening, they feel validated, accepted, and less alone in their struggles. This simple act can transform tension into connection almost instantly. Understanding someone's emotions doesn't mean agreeing with them. It means acknowledging their experience as real and important. Each person's perspective is shaped by unique experiences, fears, and hopes, which colors their reactions and choices. Empathy allows us to appreciate these differences without trying to fix change or criticize them immediately. By validating emotions first, we create a foundation for meaningful dialogue and collaboration. This bridge of understanding can prevent minor disagreements from escalating into deep divides. Empathy also fosters patience, allowing us to remain calm even in emotionally charged situations. When we step into someone else's shoes, we see the context behind their behavior, which reduces impulsive reactions and misunderstandings. Instead of responding with defensiveness or anger, empathy encourages curiosity and gentle inquiry. It gives relationships room to breathe and grow, even amidst conflict. Emotional gaps shrink when both parties feel seen, heard, and acknowledged, rather than dismissed or ignored. It is in daily, small interactions that empathy shows its greatest power. A kind question, a reflective comment, or simply nodding while listening can communicate understanding more than lengthy explanations. People remember how they felt during interactions more than what was said, making empathy a key factor in emotional connection. Each moment we choose to empathize builds trust and intimacy gradually. Over time, these small bridges strengthen into unbreakable ties between hearts. Empathy also encourages openness and vulnerability in others, creating a cycle of mutual understanding. When we respond with genuine care, people feel safe sharing their deeper emotions, fears, and dreams. This mutual exchange fosters emotional closeness, making relationships richer and more meaningful. Without empathy, people may feel isolated even in close relationships, unsure if their emotions are truly recognized. Bridging emotional gaps is not just about understanding others, but also about inviting them to understand us. When empathy is missing, relationships often fracture silently. Misunderstandings compound, resentment grows, and people withdraw emotionally. Empathy acts as a preventative measure, keeping small issues from becoming irreparable cracks in the bond. By practicing it consistently, we nurture connections that can withstand disagreements, stress, and change. The act of understanding someone deeply communicates respect, love, and care more effectively than any words alone. Empathy bridges not only emotional gaps, but also cultural, social, and generational differences. Every person's emotional world is shaped by unique contexts, traditions, and experiences. By genuinely trying to feel what another person feels, we transcend barriers that might otherwise create distance. This understanding fosters inclusivity, compassion, and a sense of shared humanity. Emotional bridges built through empathy can transform relationships and communities alike, uniting people who may seem very different on the surface. Empathy strengthens communication by turning it into an exchange of hearts, not just words. When we recognize the emotions behind statements, our responses become thoughtful and attuned. This prevents misinterpretations and unnecessary conflict while deepening trust and connection. Relationships flourish when people feel that their emotional truths are honored and reflected back. Through empathy, emotional gaps shrink and bonds grow stronger, more resilient, and profoundly human. Empathy is an active choice, not a passive feeling. It requires effort, presence, and intentionality in every interaction. Even when it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient, the rewards are transformative for both individuals and relationships. Bridging emotional gaps requires us to slow down, listen fully, and validate experiences sincerely. Each act of empathy strengthens the invisible bridges that connect hearts across distance, differences, and time. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but it is the foundation of authentic connections. To be vulnerable means to show up with honesty, without masks or pretenses, even when fear or uncertainty is present. It requires courage to admit our flaws, mistakes, and uncertainties, yet it is this courage that fosters trust and respect. In relationships, vulnerability allows others to see our true selves, creating a space for genuine understanding. When we embrace vulnerability, we open doors to deeper intimacy and meaningful bonds that cannot exist otherwise. Being vulnerable demands emotional bravery, as it involves exposing parts of ourselves that are sensitive or insecure. Many avoid this out of fear of judgment, rejection, or ridicule, but shielding ourselves only creates distance. By risking discomfort and showing our authentic emotions, we invite others to reciprocate, building trust over time. Vulnerability encourages empathy, as it allows people to respond to our humanity rather than our facades. Every act of courage to be seen without filters strengthens the foundation of connection in relationships. Vulnerability is essential for effective communication, as it allows honesty to flow without defensiveness. When we speak our truths calmly and openly, even difficult topics become approachable and constructive. Hiding behind pride or avoidance often escalates misunderstandings and emotional barriers, preventing resolution. By expressing our feelings sincerely, we foster clarity and empathy, enabling relationships to navigate challenges with care. Vulnerability transforms ordinary conversations into opportunities for trust, growth, and emotional resonance. Showing vulnerability is also a form of self-awareness and self-acceptance. It requires acknowledging our limitations, insecurities, and emotional needs without shame. By doing so, we model authenticity for those around us, encouraging them to embrace their own imperfections. This mutual acceptance nurtures a sense of safety where people feel free to express themselves without fear. Strength lies not in perfection, but in the courage to reveal who we are and invite connection. Vulnerability deepens emotional intimacy because it signals trust and openness to others. When we allow ourselves to be seen in moments of doubt or pain, we create opportunities for others to respond with compassion and care. This exchange strengthens bonds and fosters a sense of belonging, showing that we are not alone in our struggles. Emotional courage fosters resilience, as sharing vulnerabilities lightens burdens and creates support networks. Relationships thrive when people feel safe to be fully present, emotionally raw, and genuine. Embracing vulnerability also enhances personal growth, as it encourages reflection and self-compassion. When we confront our fears, insecurities, and emotional triggers openly, we gain insight into our patterns and behaviors. This awareness allows us to make conscious choices rather than reacting impulsively or defensively. Vulnerability empowers us to learn from mistakes and transform challenges into lessons, which strengthens both character and relationships. It is through openness and honesty that growth, empathy, and connection flourish simultaneously. Vulnerability requires resilience because exposing our inner world can be uncomfortable and even risky. It challenges the instinct to protect ourselves at all costs, teaching patience and emotional regulation. By repeatedly choosing to be open despite fear, we develop strength that is quiet but undeniable. This strength is recognized by others as authenticity, honesty, and courage. Over time, vulnerability becomes a powerful tool for building trust, fostering empathy, and deepening bonds in every type of relationship. When we embrace vulnerability, we also inspire courage in others, creating a ripple effect of emotional authenticity. Observing someone else speak openly about fears, doubts, or mistakes encourages others to do the same. This cycle of shared vulnerability strengthens trust and nurtures environments where empathy, understanding, and support flourish naturally. Relationships that allow space for vulnerability are more resilient, adaptive, and emotionally fulfilling. They are built on connection rather than superficial appearances or avoidance. Vulnerability is not a one-time act, but a continuous practice in every interaction. It requires mindfulness, courage, and a willingness to face discomfort for the sake of authenticity. Choosing vulnerability means valuing connection over pride, honesty over image, and understanding over control. The strength found in vulnerability transforms relationships from transactional interactions into meaningful, soulful exchanges. It allows people to experience one another fully, creating bonds that are genuine, resilient, and profoundly human. By practicing vulnerability consistently, we cultivate trust, intimacy, and emotional depth in every relationship. It teaches us that openness is a pathway to understanding, connection, and personal growth. Vulnerability transforms fear into courage and isolation into closeness, allowing relationships to thrive in honesty and authenticity. The act of showing up fully, without pretense, communicates respect, care, and love more than words ever could. Through vulnerability, strength, empathy, and intimacy merge, creating relationships that endure and flourish. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, and empathy is its strongest pillar. Without empathy, words and actions can feel hollow, leaving emotional gaps that create doubt and distance. By genuinely understanding another person's feelings, we communicate that their experiences matter and are valid. Empathy signals care, attention, and presence, which naturally cultivates trust. When people feel understood, they are more likely to open up and share their authentic selves. Building trust through empathy requires consistent effort and intentionality in our interactions. Small gestures, like actively listening or reflecting emotions back, demonstrate attentiveness. Over time, these actions prove reliability and commitment to understanding, showing that we value the other person's emotional world. Trust grows not from promises alone, but from repeated experiences of being seen, heard, and respected. Empathy creates a steady foundation that strengthens bonds even during challenging times. Empathy reduces fear in relationships by creating safe emotional spaces. When people know their feelings will be received without judgment or criticism, they are less defensive. This safety encourages honesty and vulnerability, both of which are essential for trust to deepen. By prioritizing understanding over quick solutions, empathy shifts focus from conflict to connection. It helps individuals feel secure enough to share insecurities, mistakes, and emotions freely, which solidifies relational trust. Misunderstandings often erode trust, but empathy prevents them from escalating into resentment. By attempting to see situations from the other person's perspective, we can address feelings rather than assumptions. This approach encourages dialogue instead of arguments, fostering cooperation over conflict. Trust is reinforced when others witness our commitment to understanding before reacting. Empathy acts as a buffer, smoothing out tensions that could otherwise damage relationships. Empathy strengthens trust by demonstrating reliability and emotional presence. People naturally trust those who validate their feelings, respond with patience, and prioritize emotional connection over judgment. Even in moments of disagreement, empathy shows that we respect the other's perspective and care about their experience. This reliability builds confidence in the relationship, making individuals feel supported and valued. Trust rooted in empathy withstands challenges that superficial connections cannot endure. When empathy guides our interactions, it encourages transparency and openness in communication. Being understood reduces the need for defensive behavior and hidden agendas. Individuals feel confident that sharing thoughts or emotions will be met with curiosity rather than criticism. This openness further nurtures trust and strengthens relational bonds. Empathy creates an environment where honesty is natural, allowing relationships to thrive without fear or pretense. Empathy also strengthens trust by modeling accountability and integrity. When we approach others with understanding, we demonstrate commitment to ethical and respectful behavior. A person who feels seen and heard is more likely to trust that we will act with fairness and consistency. This trust extends to decisions, intentions, and actions, reinforcing emotional safety. Empathy ensures that relationships are built on honesty and integrity rather than assumptions or superficial interactions. Trust deepens when empathy is applied in moments of conflict or disagreement. By seeking to understand emotions behind opposing views, we reduce defensiveness and promote compromise. Empathetic responses convey that the relationship matters more than being right or winning an argument. This approach cultivates mutual respect and reassurance, essential ingredients for lasting trust. Consistent empathy during challenges proves that the connection is resilient and dependable. Empathy fosters a sense of belonging, which is a core component of trust. When people feel understood, they feel seen, valued, and included. This emotional inclusion creates a bond that goes beyond superficial interactions, strengthening relational commitment. Trust grows naturally in environments where empathy and understanding are prioritized. It becomes the glue that binds individuals together, enabling long-term connection and mutual support. Empathy strengthens emotional intelligence, which in turn reinforces trust. Understanding others' emotions improves our responses, reduces miscommunication, and increases relational awareness. This heightened emotional awareness fosters patience, compassion, and thoughtful interactions, all of which are essential for trust. By consistently practicing empathy, we communicate reliability and emotional attunement. Relationships built on these principles are secure, supportive, and resilient. When empathy is absent, trust falters quickly, leaving relationships vulnerable to miscommunication, doubt, and emotional distance. Conversely, consistent empathy builds confidence that emotional needs will be acknowledged and respected. Over time, this creates a foundation of reliability and emotional security. Empathy ensures that trust is not conditional or fragile, but enduring and reinforced through shared understanding. It transforms relationships from transactional interactions into deeply connected and dependable bonds. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, and empathy is its strongest pillar. Without empathy, words and actions can feel hollow, leaving emotional gaps that create doubt and distance. By genuinely understanding another person's feelings, we communicate that their experiences matter and are valid. Empathy signals care, attention, and presence, which naturally cultivates trust. When people feel understood, they are more likely to open up and share their authentic selves. Building trust through empathy requires consistent effort and intentionality in our interactions. Small gestures, like actively listening or reflecting emotions back, demonstrate attentiveness. Over time, these actions prove reliability and commitment to understanding, showing that we value the other person's emotional world. Trust grows not from promises alone, but from repeated experiences of being seen, heard, and respected. Empathy creates a steady foundation that strengthens bonds even during challenging times. Empathy reduces fear in relationships by creating safe emotional spaces. When people know their feelings will be received without judgment or criticism, they are less defensive. This safety encourages honesty and vulnerability, both of which are essential for trust to deepen. By prioritizing understanding over quick solutions, empathy shifts focus from conflict to connection. It helps individuals feel secure enough to share insecurities, mistakes, and emotions freely, which solidifies relational trust. Misunderstandings often erode trust, but empathy prevents them from escalating into resentment. By attempting to see situations from the other person's perspective, we can address feelings rather than assumptions. This approach encourages dialogue instead of arguments, fostering cooperation over conflict. Trust is reinforced when others witness our commitment to understanding before reacting. Empathy acts as a buffer, smoothing out tensions that could otherwise damage relationships. Empathy strengthens trust by demonstrating reliability and emotional presence. People naturally trust those who validate their feelings, respond with patience, and prioritize emotional connection over judgment. Even in moments of disagreement, empathy shows that we respect the other's perspective and care about their experience. This reliability builds confidence in the relationship, making individuals feel supported and valued. Trust rooted in empathy withstands challenges that superficial connections cannot endure. When empathy guides our interactions, it encourages transparency and openness in communication. Being understood reduces the need for defensive behavior and hidden agendas. Individuals feel confident that sharing thoughts or emotions will be met with curiosity rather than criticism. This openness further nurtures trust and strengthens relational bonds. Empathy creates an environment where honesty is natural, allowing relationships to thrive without fear or pretense. Empathy also strengthens trust by modeling accountability and integrity. When we approach others with understanding, we demonstrate commitment to ethical and respectful behavior. A person who feels seen and heard is more likely to trust that we will act with fairness and consistency. This trust extends to decisions, intentions, and actions, reinforcing emotional safety. Empathy ensures that relationships are built on honesty and integrity rather than assumptions or superficial interactions. Trust deepens when empathy is applied in moments of conflict or disagreement. By seeking to understand emotions behind opposing views, we reduce defensiveness and promote compromise. Empathetic responses convey that the relationship matters more than being right or winning an argument. This approach cultivates mutual respect and reassurance, essential ingredients for lasting trust. Consistent empathy during challenges proves that the connection is resilient and dependable. Empathy fosters a sense of belonging, which is a core component of trust. When people feel understood, they feel seen, valued, and included. This emotional inclusion creates a bond that goes beyond superficial interactions, strengthening relational commitment. Trust grows naturally in environments where empathy and understanding are prioritized. It becomes the glue that binds individuals together, enabling long-term connection and mutual support. Empathy strengthens emotional intelligence, which in turn reinforces trust. Understanding others' emotions improves our responses, reduces miscommunication, and increases relational awareness. This heightened emotional awareness fosters patience, compassion, and thoughtful interactions, all of which are essential for trust. By consistently practicing empathy, we communicate reliability and emotional attunement. Relationships built on these principles are secure, supportive, and resilient. When empathy is absent, trust falters quickly, leaving relationships vulnerable to miscommunication, doubt, and emotional distance. Conversely, consistent empathy builds confidence that emotional needs will be acknowledged and respected. Over time, this creates a foundation of reliability and emotional security. Empathy ensures that trust is not conditional or fragile, but enduring and reinforced through shared understanding. It transforms relationships from transactional interactions into deeply connected and dependable bonds. Responding instead of reacting is a skill that transforms the quality of our relationships. When we react impulsively, emotions like anger, fear, or frustration take control, often creating unnecessary conflict. A response, on the other hand, comes from awareness, reflection, and intentional choice. It allows us to pause, understand the situation, and consider the other person's perspective. This shift from reaction to response turns potential arguments into opportunities for connection. Pausing before responding gives space for empathy to guide our words and actions. It helps us recognize the emotions driving both our behavior and that of the other person. By understanding these emotions, we can respond thoughtfully rather than letting impulses dictate our actions. This pause reduces misunderstandings and prevents escalation of tension. When both parties feel heard and acknowledged, communication becomes constructive and respectful. Reacting often stems from past experiences, assumptions, or fear, rather than the current reality. When we act without reflection. We impose interpretations that may not reflect the other person's intentions. Responding requires mindfulness and presence, allowing us to separate our emotions from the situation at hand. This clarity enables effective communication and promotes mutual understanding. Responding thoughtfully fosters harmony instead of widening emotional gaps. Responding involves actively listening and seeking to understand before speaking. By asking questions, paraphrasing, and reflecting emotions, we demonstrate that we value the other person's experience. This approach encourages openness and trust while reducing defensiveness. People are more likely to cooperate and share honestly when they feel understood. Response-driven interactions prioritize connection and resolution over winning or proving a point. Choosing to respond cultivates emotional intelligence as it requires awareness of our triggers and self-regulation. We learn to recognize when emotions are rising and take steps to manage them before reacting. This skill strengthens patience, empathy, and relational awareness. Over time, consistent practice enhances the ability to navigate conflicts calmly and effectively. Emotional intelligence developed through mindful responses creates healthier and more resilient relationships. Responding allows us to align our actions with our values rather than our impulses. When we act deliberately, we honor our commitment to integrity, respect, and compassion. This alignment reassures others that our intentions are thoughtful and trustworthy. It transforms conflicts into opportunities for understanding and collaboration. The choice to respond rather than react demonstrates maturity, care, and emotional control. Reacting often triggers defensive patterns in both parties, escalating tension unnecessarily. By responding, we break this cycle and create space for constructive dialogue. Calm and measured responses help clarify intentions, correct misunderstandings, and foster problem solving. They allow relationships to grow rather than fracture under the weight of uncontrolled emotions. Responding is a conscious act that prioritizes connection and understanding over temporary emotional satisfaction. Responding also encourages reflective communication where words are chosen with care and sensitivity. This approach reduces the likelihood of saying something hurtful or inflammatory. When people feel that we respond rather than react, they are more willing to share openly and resolve issues collaboratively. Reflection and intentionality in communication build trust and demonstrate emotional maturity. Responding nurtures relationships by fostering patience, thoughtfulness, and mutual respect. A response acknowledges both our emotions and the emotions of the other person. It communicates understanding, validation, and a willingness to work together toward resolution. This dual recognition strengthens relational bonds and reduces the likelihood of resentment. Responding creates an environment of emotional safety where conflicts can be addressed without fear. It emphasizes connection over confrontation and understanding over judgment. Responding helps prevent regrets that often follow impulsive reactions. When we take the time to consider our words and actions, we reduce the chance of saying or doing things we later wish we hadn't. This conscious approach demonstrates self-awareness and respect for others' feelings. Over time, responding rather than reacting becomes a habit that shapes healthier, more empathetic interactions. Relationships flourish when communication is guided by intention rather than impulse. Responding is not always easy, especially in moments of stress or emotional intensity. It requires mindfulness practice and a commitment to self-regulation. However, the benefits of responding thoughtfully are profound, leading to deeper understanding, trust, and emotional connection. Relationships become more resilient when conflicts are navigated with care and awareness. Responding transforms challenges into opportunities for growth, learning, and stronger bonds. Empathy is not a one-time act. It is a daily choice that requires conscious effort. Every interaction presents an opportunity to practice understanding, patience, and care. By intentionally choosing empathy each day, we strengthen our relationships and emotional awareness. This consistent effort builds habits that shape the way we connect with others. Small, repeated actions of empathy accumulate into lasting impact over time. Daily practice of empathy requires mindfulness and attentiveness in all our interactions. It means listening fully, noticing emotional cues, and responding thoughtfully rather than mechanically. By paying attention to both words and underlying feelings, we validate the other person's experience. This habit of awareness fosters deeper connections and prevents misunderstandings. Mindful empathy ensures that our relationships are nurtured intentionally, not left to chance. Choosing empathy daily also involves managing our own emotions effectively. When we are stressed, angry, or distracted, it becomes easy to react without understanding. Practicing empathy means pausing, reflecting, and regulating our responses before interacting. This emotional control ensures that our actions are guided by care and understanding. Daily discipline in this regard strengthens both self-awareness and relational bonds. Empathy as a daily practice transforms ordinary moments into meaningful connections. Simple gestures like asking sincere questions or offering a listening ear demonstrate understanding consistently. Over time, these small efforts create a pattern of trust, care, and reliability in relationships. Consistent empathy makes people feel valued and emotionally safe. It reminds us that the quality of our relationships depends on continuous attention and effort. Daily empathy also requires embracing discomfort and vulnerability regularly. There will be moments when listening or understanding someone else challenges our assumptions or patience. Choosing to stay present and empathize, even when uncomfortable, strengthens emotional resilience. It teaches that connection is more important than ego or convenience. Repeated acts of courage and empathy create a culture of trust and openness in relationships. Practicing empathy every day enhances communication skills naturally. By focusing on understanding rather than reacting, we respond in ways that reduce conflict and promote clarity. Daily engagement in empathetic listening and thoughtful dialogue fosters mutual respect. People become more willing to share honestly and collaborate when empathy is consistently present. Over time, this practice cultivates emotionally intelligent, harmonious relationships. Empathy also requires self-reflection as a daily habit. Checking in with our own feelings, biases, and assumptions allows us to approach others with clarity and honesty. Awareness of our internal states prevents projection or misinterpretation of others' emotions. Daily self-reflection ensures that empathy is authentic and not performative. By understanding ourselves, we can more genuinely understand and connect with those around us. Daily practice of empathy strengthens resilience in the face of relational challenges. Conflicts, misunderstandings, and emotional tensions are inevitable, but consistent empathy helps navigate these moments gracefully. By choosing to listen, validate, and understand daily, we prevent small issues from escalating into deep divides. Empathy becomes a stabilizing force, fostering reconciliation and emotional balance. This habitual approach builds durable, compassionate connections. Choosing empathy every day also nurtures patience and tolerance. People are not perfect, and relationships are rarely smooth. Daily practice teaches us to accept imperfections, remain calm, and seek understanding rather than judgment. This ongoing commitment deepens emotional bonds and encourages long-term relational growth. Empathy becomes a guiding principle that informs all interactions, big and small. Daily empathy is ultimately a conscious commitment to connection over isolation. Each interaction is an opportunity to strengthen understanding, trust, and care. By making empathy a regular practice, we create relationships that thrive on mutual respect and emotional attunement. Repetition and consistency are key. Even small daily acts of empathy shape the foundation of lasting bonds. This habitual dedication ensures that empathy becomes an integral part of who we are. Daily choice and practice of empathy also fosters compassion beyond immediate relationships. As we consistently engage with others' feelings, we become more aware of broader emotional experiences in our communities. This awareness encourages kindness, inclusivity, and proactive support for those around us. Empathy practice daily expands from personal connections to a wider, more compassionate worldview. It transforms not only relationships, but also the way we move through the world. Empathy is a cornerstone of emotional intelligence, which is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage emotions effectively. When we empathize, we become more attuned to the feelings of others and ourselves. This awareness improves communication and strengthens relationships by allowing thoughtful, sensitive responses. Emotional intelligence grows through practice and reflection, and empathy is the primary tool for that growth. Developing it ensures that we navigate emotions constructively rather than reactively. Understanding others' emotions requires observation, listening, and careful attention to nonverbal cues. Facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language often convey more than words alone. By noticing these subtle signals, we become more adept at recognizing the emotional states of those around us. This heightened perception fosters connection and prevents misunderstandings. Emotional intelligence deepens as we refine our ability to interpret and respond appropriately to these signals. Empathy also strengthens self-awareness, a key component of emotional intelligence. When we reflect on our own emotions while understanding others, we gain insight into our reactions, triggers, and biases. This awareness allows us to manage our responses with intention rather than acting impulsively. Self-reflection combined with empathetic understanding enhances decision-making and interpersonal effectiveness. Emotional intelligence is cultivated through this ongoing balance of self-awareness and outward understanding. Practicing empathy helps develop regulation of emotions, preventing destructive or impulsive behavior. By understanding another person's feelings, we can respond calmly even in tense situations. This control strengthens relationships and reduces conflict by prioritizing thoughtful action over immediate reaction. Emotional intelligence relies on this ability to manage emotions in oneself and others. Empathy is the bridge that allows awareness to transform into constructive action. Empathy also nurtures social skills, another key element of emotional intelligence. When we understand emotions, we communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more smoothly, and collaborate more harmoniously. People naturally gravitate toward those who show genuine understanding and care. Developing these skills improves the quality of interactions in personal and professional settings. Emotional intelligence is expressed outwardly through the ability to navigate social dynamics with empathy. Compassion, fueled by empathy, enhances emotional intelligence by fostering a supportive environment. Recognizing and validating others' feelings encourages cooperation, trust, and mutual respect. People feel heard and valued, which strengthens emotional bonds and promotes collaboration. Emotional intelligence thrives in contexts where empathy and compassion guide interactions. Understanding and caring for emotions becomes a habitual and powerful part of everyday relationships. Empathy improves conflict resolution by allowing perspective taking and understanding underlying emotions. Rather than reacting with defensiveness or judgment, we respond with insight and care. This approach prevents misunderstandings from escalating and fosters reconciliation. Emotional intelligence is strengthened when we learn to navigate disagreements constructively. Empathy equips us with the tools to transform conflict into connection and growth. Consistently practicing empathy enhances decision-making skills within relationships and teams. Understanding the emotional impact of choices allows us to act considerately and anticipate consequences. Emotional intelligence grows as we consider both rational and emotional factors before responding. Decisions rooted in empathy strengthen trust, cooperation, and long-term relational health. Awareness of emotions informed by empathy improves outcomes in both personal and professional contexts. Empathy also fosters adaptability, a critical aspect of emotional intelligence. By recognizing and respecting differing perspectives, we can adjust our communication and behavior to meet the needs of others. This flexibility strengthens relationships and encourages resilience in changing circumstances. Emotional intelligence relies on the ability to adapt to diverse emotional landscapes effectively. Empathy ensures that we remain responsive, understanding, and connected even amid challenges. Practicing empathy enhances motivation, both intrinsic and relational, so within the context of emotional intelligence. When we understand and value others' emotions, we are driven to act in ways that support positive outcomes. Empathy inspires collaboration, generosity, and proactive problem solving. Emotional intelligence is amplified when motivation is guided by consideration for others' feelings. By aligning actions with understanding, we strengthen relationships and encourage shared growth. Empathy also cultivates long-term resilience by helping us manage emotional stress and maintain relational stability. Understanding and validating feelings reduces tension, prevents misunderstandings, and fosters trust. Emotional intelligence is reinforced when empathy guides how we process and respond to challenges. Relationships endure and thrive when people feel recognized, supported, and understood. This ongoing practice creates a foundation for deep, emotionally intelligent connections. Through empathy, we connect emotional intelligence with practical action in everyday life. Awareness, understanding, regulation, and social skills converge to enhance interactions. People feel valued, trust grows, and communication improves when empathy guides behavior. Emotional intelligence is not merely a skill, but a lived practice, strengthened continually through empathetic engagement. Empathy ensures that intelligence is applied with heart, creating stronger, more resilient relationships. Conflict is a natural part of any relationship, but how we handle it determines whether bonds weaken or strengthen. Approaching disagreements with empathy allows us to see beyond the surface tension and understand the underlying emotions. When we acknowledge the feelings behind someone's words, we shift from blame to curiosity. This perspective creates space for connection, even amid disagreement. Conflict becomes an opportunity to deepen trust and understanding rather than a source of division. Transforming conflict into connection begins with active listening, which is the foundation of empathetic communication. Listening without interrupting or planning our response allows us to truly hear the other person's experience. Reflection and validation of emotions show that we care and are invested in resolution. This act alone can diffuse tension and pave the way for constructive dialogue. Through empathetic listening, disagreements become collaborative rather than combative. When we respond with empathy during conflict, we encourage openness and honesty. People are more likely to share their true concerns when they feel safe and understood. By acknowledging emotions rather than dismissing them, we reduce defensiveness and resistance. Connection grows as both parties feel validated and respected. Empathy reframes conflict from a battle into a mutual exploration of understanding. Conflict often exposes unmet needs or misaligned expectations, and empathy helps identify these underlying issues. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can ask thoughtful questions to clarify intentions and perspectives. Understanding the root causes of tension allows solutions to address real concerns rather than symptoms. This approach strengthens relationships by demonstrating care, patience, and commitment. Transforming conflict into connection ensures that disagreements lead to growth, not resentment. Empathy also fosters patience and emotional regulation during conflicts. When emotions run high, it is easy to react with anger or defensiveness. Choosing to respond thoughtfully allows us to remain calm and attentive to the other person's experience. This control reduces escalation and models constructive behavior. Relationships are reinforced when both parties feel that their emotions are acknowledged and respected. Transforming conflicts into connections involves collaborative problem solving guided by empathy. Instead of imposing solutions, We explore options together, considering each person's needs and feelings. This cooperative approach promotes shared ownership of outcomes and mutual respect. Solutions become more effective and satisfying when they emerge from understanding rather than domination. Empathy ensures that resolution strengthens the bond rather than weakening it. Empathy also helps us see conflicts from a broader perspective, promoting forgiveness and reconciliation. Recognizing that everyone is fallible and prone to mistakes encourages compassion. Understanding the emotional context behind behavior reduces resentment and fosters healing. By focusing on connection rather than fault, we can move past disagreements constructively. Conflict becomes a bridge for growth, not a barrier to intimacy. Communication during conflict improves when empathy is central to the interaction. We become aware of tone, timing, and word choice to avoid further hurt. Emotional intelligence guides our responses, helping us navigate tense situations with care. People feel safer expressing themselves when they sense understanding rather than judgment. Connection deepens as empathy transforms potential friction into meaningful exchange. Empathy also encourages self-reflection, which enhances conflict resolution. By examining our own emotions, biases, and triggers, we can respond rather than react. Understanding ourselves allows us to engage others thoughtfully without projecting frustration or blame. This awareness strengthens emotional bonds and prevents recurring conflicts. Conflict becomes a shared opportunity to learn, grow, and connect more deeply. Transforming conflicts into connections requires consistent practice and patience. Every disagreement is an invitation to reinforce trust, understanding, and collaboration. Empathy ensures that emotions are acknowledged, needs are considered, and solutions are mutually respectful. Relationships become resilient as conflicts are reframed from obstacles into opportunities for growth. Connection thrives when empathy guides every interaction, even in the most challenging moments. Empathy also fosters long-term relational stability by reducing the likelihood of lingering resentment. When people feel understood, even during disagreements, they are less likely to withdraw emotionally. Validation of feelings reinforces trust and reinforces the belief that the relationship is safe and reliable. Conflicts become moments of bonding rather than alienation. Through consistent empathetic engagement, challenges strengthen rather than weaken relational ties. Conflict teaches us about perspective, patience, and emotional depth when approached with empathy. Each disagreement offers insight into the other person's inner world and our own reactions. By choosing connection over reaction, we turn potential divisiveness into relational growth. Empathy transforms friction into understanding, tension into trust, and disagreements into opportunities for deeper bonds. Through this practice, conflict becomes a catalyst for lasting, meaningful connection.